It's going on about 3 months living with the Sunseeker Orion X7, so it's time for an update. Life with the X7 has not been perfect, as I detailed in some previous videos, but things are on the upswing, and it's had to take over the duty of cutting the entire lawn because the Luba is currently out of order. The X7 Sunseeker provided me is the base model, so it has the smallest battery and it's recommended up to 3/4 of an acre. My entire lawn is just shy of 1 acre and it's a really complicated shape. So it's really stretching this mower thin. It takes about 3 days of cutting to get the entire thing done. So it's not ideal. If you're this size lawn, I'd definitely upgrade to the mid-tier one or to the largest battery is probably what I'd go with. So it can get more of the yard done and give you more of a fresh cut look constantly. Otherwise, you kind of get this mix of cut and uncut. It keeps up, it does the job, but I just prefer a nice manicured look all the time, which is one of the benefits of going with a robot mower, and it can be done all the time. So from the start, I was very impressed with the X7, the vision system and the mapping capability, and the fact that when GPS signal gets weak, it doesn't stop cutting, it goes to the vision system. So for my lawn with a lot of canopy and cover, satellite signal can be a challenge, and that is one big benefit to it, but it's not been perfect, as I detailed in some past videos. The mower deck height was changing, and I had built up into the top of the deck that I've since been clearing routinely, that I think was preventing the deck from articulating down fully. But they've done some software updates, cleaned up some things on that end and the control system, and it's much more reliable. I'm getting a nice even cut now. So one big update they just brought, and I noticed in the app, is night mode, so the ability to cut at night, which wasn't available right away. Between the two cameras, we've got a large LED to light things up. Now it does warn that obstacle detection isn't as good as at night as it is during the day due to reduced lighting, but that should cut our cut time down significantly, especially as we move into the fall. I'm in the far northern reaches of the upper Midwest in the United States. We have a very large variation in daylight hours that we get, and we're mid-August, we're losing daylight hours fairly quickly now. By the end of August, moving into September, cut time would be very limited if it was only during daylight hours. So I'm excited to test this out. One of the things I've been very happy with is the turning system on the Orion X7. And it does not tear up the grass at all. So that third wheel that articulates plus is powered does a very good job of turning the Orion without any impact on the turf. The alternative is what the Luba does, and it tank turns. There's no articulation to the wheels at all, which is very effective driving system, but it's a little bit hard on the turf. And this in particular, right in front of the charge station, every time the Luba comes back here to dock itself, it does a tank turn to position itself, and it chews up the grass pretty good. So it did come with a mat to try to prevent this. The grass grows up through it and provide some integrity to the turf. I was not able to stake that down enough where the Luba wouldn't like bend it and create folds in it, and then it would go over it and cut pieces off of it. So that just didn't work for me very well at all. So I went with this. It's not the end of the world, but I'd rather not have it there. The vision system on the Orion X7 has been very good at recognizing flower beds like this. You can see I've got the concrete edgers. Proud of the grass a little bit, and the mower comes up to this, recognizes this immediately, and even adapts the map to recognize that this is a no-go zone. So as you use it more and more, it will develop these no-go zones on its own even better, and just prevent the mower from running into it. It's been very good on the vast majority of my flower beds. The one area it struggled is on this slope. It's been perfect up against the house, but when it comes down and the cut path is perpendicular to this flower bed, it does not recognize this and drives into it occasionally. And I believe we've got a pretty significant slope here. So the camera system, I think, is looking over this side, and it doesn't recognize there's a flower bed until it's too late, especially in some of the more narrow areas like this. Maybe is looking past it and sees grass, instead of if it were pointed down like this, it would recognize it, but it's probably more looking like this. Originally I had this rock retaining wall. I drove around the border and it was carved out from the zone, so it was a border. So I went in the front yard, you can see on the map, and carved this out. The mistake I made, I left boundary optimization toggled on, which who doesn't want to optimize the boundary, and it merged automatically this area down here and the area up top and got rid of this sliver in here that was outside the zone, which would be fine if the vision system recognized it as a no-go zone. But like I said, that's not been 100%. It's the majority of it's pretty good, but I've had 3 instances where I've had to pull it out of these rocks here, and it does do some damage to the cutting blades and things like that. Nothing permanent, just a little bit of wear and tear on them. And of course it's not cutting, so I have to recognize that it's there and pull it out and get it back cutting. So you lose some time there also. Overall cut quality is pretty good. You've got some areas here that have not been cut. And this is the area where I had trouble with it going in there, so it messed up the whole sequence. I had to grab it out of there, put it back down and get it started. I think also the direction of cut, if it's not going perpendicular to this, it's going to be better at recognizing it if it's traveling this way instead of directly at it. So I'm going to experiment with that. One other toggle I did that's new to the app, another upgrade that Sunseeker's made, which, by the way, I got to give them, they're rapidly developing behind the scenes and the interface on the app. So kudos to them for continuing to try to make things better. And I went to there's a mode on there for high light mode or high intensity light obstacle detection. So I toggled that the different way. We'll see if that improves things. The Orion cut this half of the yard perfectly yesterday without incident. For some reason, this part of the yard is giving it trouble. And it looks like the entire border here on the GPS shifted inward. So it thinks the GPS coordinates moved in a couple feet into this flower bed, and part of the reason it's running into it, I think that's because the location of this charging station I put under the overhang of the house to protect it. But then the robot does not have good GPS signal while it's docked there, and you can see it locates a charging station on the GPS map, and I wonder if that just gave it trouble. I did have similar troubles with the Luba, and that was more because it doesn't have the vision system. It wouldn't start mowing because it didn't know where it was, where the vision system on the Orion allows that, but I think it's messing with the GPS map. So you can see I put the Luba's charging station here where it has open access to the sky. I haven't been real motivated to get the X7 back working because the Luba has been working great. I mean, look at this grass, it does a very fine job. But there is one Achilles heel, the Luba, that's giving me some motivation to get the X7 back up and running. And that is areas like this, that's on a slope and it has to go around this tree. It's into September now and we're staying pretty wet. It's been a wet year and you can see it is just digging the heck out of the grass. Even in an area like this where it's got to go around, do a lot of turning, it's turning it into mud all the way around this, where it's having to do its turns, even though I've got it set on multi-point turn. Now this is one of the reasons the new Lubas have changed out the front wheels for what they call an Omni wheel, and I believe that slides better. I wish I could retrofit mine, but I haven't seen that yet. I think I'd have to upgrade the entire unit, which, you know, is a costly endeavor. So let's get the X7 back out and see if we can give it another chance. This area has been very successful for satellite signal for the Luba. So we're gonna put the Orion right next door, give it as good of a head-to-head as we can. Okay, so if we open the app, there's different icons to tell us how happy the satellite signal is here. Satellite to robot signal is showing good. as I would expect, because it does with the Luba all the time. In this location, if we look, the house is in the way, but overall it's one of the best areas that I have open to the sky with all the trees that I've got around. So I'm going to remap. The map recognizes where the charging station is. The Luba, you don't have to remap completely if you just move the charging station. If you move the RTK, you have to. But like I said, the old map seemed to have got corrupted for the X7, and everything shifted on the one area. So I'm just going to go ahead and redo the entire map. If you've got questions about the mapping process, I cover all that in detail in the initial review of this Orion X7. The link to that video will be in the description below. Okay, we've got our new map created. Obviously, it's self-calibrated where the charging station has moved to. We're going to return it to the charger. Let it charge up. Make sure I take off auto boundary optimization. That's what messed us up last time. The Orion's back in business. None of the issues it had were on this side of the lawn, but I do like how it turns. It does not tear up the grass like the Luba, but we got to see once it gets on the other side of the lawn if it can stay out of those flower beds, not get itself into trouble. We have an interesting development here. The GPS borders are working quite well, but between the last time I ran this and setting up and moving the charging station, there's been some app updates. I don't know if that's exactly it, but clearly the vision system is not working as well as it did in the past, or it's not as sensitive. It didn't recognize this flower bed and drove into it. Oh, it got itself out. All right, we got an error here. We got stuck by this retaining wall. It did it again. I don't know what's going on here. Like this, it's being quite conservative, staying away. But now I'm having troubles here around the fire pit and that, which I had no problems with this flower bed before. It would recognize it and stay away. So it leads me to believe they made some update that made the vision system turn it down a little bit. Unfortunately for my needs, that's not a good thing. Now you could say, why don't I just make a no-go zone around this GPS barrier? The problem is their app functionality, I can't drive the bot around to make a no-go zone. You can make a no-go zone, but it just gives you a rectangle it just gives you a rectangle to manually place it on the map. You can't use the bot to trace it out. So if they added that, I could just simply make this a no-go zone in all my flower beds, and that would solve the issue. The vision system's supposed to do that on its own. Still does a great job recognizing a tree. Obviously a tree is vertical, pretty easy to see and go around. So after almost a full cutting season with the Orion, it's close, it's real close. I like the drive system. I like that third wheel in the back that's powered and articulates very easy on the grass with a lot of traction. Unfortunately, it's not quite there yet and I can't recommend it. Hopefully they keep improving it. I'll keep giving you updates. Hopefully this off season for me, they get it together and it works like a dream next year. We can always hope, right? Thanks for watching.